Shalom WJC family. Time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in synagogue we will read Parshat Korach, the famous story of the rebellion of one Levite, a cousin of Moses and Aaron, who gets up in front of him and says, "We want to share in this leadership. You have done wrong to the people. We are all a holy nation. Why should you be the ones who get to lead?" And Korach is punished horribly. He and his followers, many of them members of the tribe of Levi as well, are punished by being swallowed up in the earth, them and all their possessions. And the number one question I get about Korach is, what did he do that was so wrong? Okay, rebellion is not so good, but the death penalty just for suggesting that the whole people is holy? Aren't the whole people holy? So Korach's story, I think, is best told or can be understood better through one particular line. When Moses yells back at them, he says, Rav Lachem Bnai Levi, right? He says, "Come morning, God will make known who is to serve and who is holy by granting direct access. Whoever is chosen will be granted access," right? He's going to have a test of trial by fire, literally. He says, "You, Korach, and your band take fire pans, and tomorrow put fire in them and lay incense on them before God, and then the man who God chooses, he shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far. Rav Lachem Bnai Levi. You've gone too far, Bnai Levi." This phrase is very odd. Rav Lachem Bnai Levi. It's a lot for you, Bnai Levi. And I wanted to take a look at Rabbeinu Bachya's comment on this, because he says, "You have gone too far, sons of Levi." He says what Moses means is that God had already given the Levites plenty. And in the following verse, Rabbeinu Bachya points out, he says exactly what he gave you. Right? Isn't it enough for you that the God of Israel has set you apart from the community of Israel and given you direct access to perform the duties of God's tabernacle and to minister to the community and to serve them, right? That's the Rav Lachem. It should be enough for you. In other words, what Moses is trying to teach them is that they have gone astray because they have not looked at what they have, they've looked at what they don't have. This is a surefire way to go wrong and to be seen as rebellious in the way we live in our lives. Not only the Levites back then, but us today, and even Moses falls into this trap. Because later in the Torah, in Parshat Va'etchanan, when Moses is explaining, kind of reviewing the history of the people's wanderings in the desert, he's talking about how he won't be allowed to go to Israel. Right? He's going to lead the people all the way up to the promised land, but Joshua is going to lead them the rest of the way. And he says, "I pleaded with the Lord and I said, 'Come on, let me go in.' And the Lord was wrathful with me on your account. And he said to me," God said to me, "Rav lach, al tosef daber elai od b'davar hazeh." Rav lach, it's enough for you. Right? You've gone too far. Don't speak to me about this again. Year 2. Even Moses, our great teacher, all he can see is that he's not going to cross into the promised land. All he can see is that it won't be for him. So what should be enough for him? Well, we're still mentioning his name today, right? 3,000 years later and more, we're still talking about Moses, our greatest teacher and our greatest leader. Maybe the strongest and most important link in the chain, linking God's promise to Abraham and Sarah to our existence as Jewish people today, and our connection to the land of Israel, and our connection to each other, and our connection to Torah. All of it in the name of Moses. Rav lach, God says to Moses. So what does that mean? I think it means so what? So I let you step into the land. And then you're going to say, how come I don't get to see your Beit HaMikdash, your great temple built, right? Or how come I don't get to see a king placed on the throne? Or who knows where that line is? The point is, if we look at life this way, it is never enough. And that is Korach's great sin and a pitfall that even the great rabbi and leader and teacher Moses can fall into, and obviously one that we can fall into as well. Our eyes are often drawn to what we are missing in a way that doesn't allow us to appreciate what we have. But the lesson that God is teaching to Moses, and that Moses is teaching to Korach, and that the Torah is teaching to us, is that it is a fool's way to look at the world. That the more we concentrate on what we don't have and focus in on our dissatisfaction, the more we risk becoming rebellious. Not just rebellious to God or Moses or Judaism or the Torah, but rebellious in a dissatisfaction with the world, rebellious to our own lives. We set ourselves up with an inability to be satisfied in our lives. And who wants to live like that? The trick is to stay in this space of Ravli. It's enough for me. It's enough for me, what? To be a link in the chain, linking the generations of the Jewish people from Abraham and Sarah through Moses and one day to our future. That it is a privilege to be a link in that chain, that we are not the end. One of the great lessons of Judaism is that we are not the culmination of everything. It's very countercultural today. We are very caught up, I think, today in a more selfish way, a more self-absorbed way of looking at the world. I say it not as a criticism. I think it's just part of the culture we live in. That all of history is pointing to us in this moment, and that the most important thing is my happiness or my generation's happiness or this moment in history, without necessarily thinking about what happens the generation after or the generation after. Judaism is exactly the opposite of that. Judaism has always been most concentrated on the generation after and the generation after. And the reason is because we are satisfied. We are, the whole point, the whole purpose of our being is to carry the torch forward, not necessarily to light the ultimate fire, but to pass it to the next person who's going to pass the torch forward. Our children, the next generation, the next teacher, the next leader. And ultimately, Rav Lanu, that should be enough for us. It is a great privilege to be part of this amazing people. It is a great privilege to be a link in the chain, a step on the pathway towards a better world, and an awareness of something more holy, not only for us, but for all of humanity. It's a great privilege to be part of a people who brought Torah and ethics and morality and values and justice into the world in a way that had never been seen before, and that continues to hold the world to a higher standard, even as we hold ourselves to that higher standard. Rav Lanu, it should be enough for us, not as a way of chastisement, but as a way of holding on to the idea that it is enough for us. One of the most famous lines in Pirkei Avot of teachings of our rabbis is Miha ish ashir shesameach bechalko, who is a happy person, the one who is satisfied with their lot. Korach was not satisfied with his lot. And even at the end, Moses was not satisfied with his lot. The truth is, we all fall into this trap at times. It's hard to live a life purely of gratitude. But by recognizing what we have, by embracing our role, whatever that might be, our purpose, and understanding that it is our connection to God, and that God cared enough about us to put us here and to do whatever that purpose is, to be that link in the chain, because the chain cannot go on without us. That level of gratitude, that's ultimately what can bring us to that place of happiness, can allow us to thrive in the immortality of the Jewish people, can allow us to thrive in the joy of all that Judaism and the Jewish people have brought to this world, and ultimately can allow us to be happy with our lot, satisfied in our place, and to move forward on this path with the purpose and the meaning and the gratitude of being a part of something great that is what it is to be part of the Jewish people. I wish you all that satisfaction and peace of mind and peace of soul and peace on this Shabbat coming. Shabbat Shalom.